listening to Driving Law, a podcast by Kyla about all things related to the rules of the road.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Driving Law. I am Kyla at Acumen Law Corporation. With me remotely, my co-host, Paul Doroshenko.
Hi, Kyla. Good to see you.
Yes.
Haven't seen you in a couple of days. I can see your office there. I remember what it's like.
Yes, you've gone on vacation.
I am. I'm actually in Valemount, British Columbia right now, and 2 meters to my right is the courthouse. And the reason I'm here is purely just to use their Wi-Fi. And their parking lot's got no lines painted on it. So I thought, well, I just parallel park right beside here. I don't think there's anybody here. So some lights on, but I don't see anybody.
Maybe you'll end up being a ridiculous driver if you have the police roll up behind you to tell you to move.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, again, no lines on the road here, and I have a good signal. So that's the important thing. I've historically had a good signal in various places in the valley here, and I don't know if it's my new phone or if it's just more people in the valley. I've noticed when it's busy in the valley, I just can't get an internet signal, so I have to drive to town now to do work every day, as I will be conducting hearings as many days as you let me.
Well, no, I mean, you're mostly not going to be conducting hearings. It's all being booked on my schedule, and I have to cancel my week of P&E time.
I see two days that I'm conducting hearings next week.
Doesn't matter. I'm also conducting hearings.
No, I know. Well, no, there's one day that I'm conducting 2 hearings when you're not conducting hearings, but I know you're in court all day.
Oh, yeah, no, I'm conducting hearings that day too.
Oh, I know. At 9 and 1. Yeah.
So, no, there's not a...
I'm doing the 10 and 11 that day.
Yeah. Anyway, let's not talk about that because that's not as interesting to our listeners
Sorting out our schedule on the podcast.
as road rage is.
Road rage is always interesting, so let's talk about it.
Yeah, so there was this big road rage incident that happened in Surrey, and it's all captured on like a dash cam, which is wild. So it was August 12th, which is like 3 days ago, 104th and Highway 17. But in fact, the road rage event goes all the way back to the Portman Bridge, where this guy is essentially like driving along the Portman Bridge. There's some sort of cutoff in the lane, and there's a middle finger and, an exchange of words. And these people continue on the same path following beside them. And ultimately, they end up getting caught up in traffic at an intersection. And so they're beside each other, one to the other in the lane. And there's video of this. You can watch it on Global BC's website. So the 2 vehicles are side by side, a red truck and a gray truck. And the driver of the red truck gets out of the vehicle and runs around and pepper sprays right in the back window of the gray truck. Pepper sprays the driver and then speeds away.
Got a weapon with him on top of the fact that he's...
Oh, and ran a red light. So we're talking about dangerous driving, like intentional running of a red light. That's dangerous driving. You've got, all of the other...
Gonna be easy to ID the person. I'm sure they know exactly who it is now.
Well, I mean, you can't really see him very well on the video, but they have obviously the license plate, make, model of the vehicle, and probably enough to connect the dots there, as you know. You know a lot about what police do when they need to identify a driver in hit and runs or...
Yep. Yeah. It's not difficult for them. There's always family members, friends, co-workers, witnesses who can be interviewed when they already know who it is. There's often social media that can be used for the purpose of that investigation. Then they contact the person because they're going to charge them and deal with it at that point.
Yep.
I'm glad it's not my file.
Yep.
That's fairly easy. There's a license plate, it's a male, and it's a truck. That they know who it is.
Even if you don't have like clear identification in the video, but you can see like it's a guy of a certain build or whatever. And even if the driver of the other vehicle can't identify him, which he probably can't, considering he was looking at a whole bunch of pepper spray and not the guy's face, there's still also like the circumstantial case that gets made out when you're the registered owner of a vehicle.
Yeah, and they won't let it go because of the pepper spray. Lots of times, road rage incidents they'll look at and it'll be a stern lecture. And if nobody was hit, like physically hit, or assaulted, then they will. Sometimes they'll let it go. Sometimes they won't. It depends on how strong they feel of a case they've got. But as soon as somebody pulls out a weapon and goes to use it, they're going to buckle down and put the effort in. And the RCMP will be the ones investigating it in all likelihood because it started on the bridge, and they'll put the effort in, and there will be charges. And so, yeah, terrible how stupid people can be with these road rage incidents. I see it in my TikTok feed all the time, and I think to myself, like, why would you respond? Just let the other person drive on. Like,
Isn't that the thing about anger, right? Like it's not rational.
no, I know. We both know that. We've, had our anger issues over the years. But still, when it's behind the wheel, I always just think of the public embarrassment of your stupidity being captured on video.
Yeah. Well, I think a lot of people don't really think about the fact that somebody else is going to be watching and their dash cam is going to be trained, right? Like, it's one thing to go up to somebody's back window where you're probably not on dash cam and spray the pepper spray. And you're probably not going to be identified if there is a dash cam versus if, the car behind you. Because you're not thinking about those other people. You're focused on the sort of, I guess, target of your ire, I would say.
Indeed. Well, you should think that one through and never drive around with pepper spray in your vehicle. I say as I probably have bear spray here because I'm going to be fishing later.
Now, there was also, Paul, a very big victory for Uber drivers in Vancouver.
Apparently, but of
Yep.
course I don't know about it because I'm out of town.
Okay.
So tell me about it.
Yeah. So this was Uber brought a challenge. So Uber drivers in Vancouver, if they want to pick somebody up in like the downtown core, they have to pay like a what did they call it? A congestion and curbside management permit fee. So essentially, it was a bylaw that allowed the city engineer to charge a set fee per for the permit, and the permit was levied per stop within the metro core during designated times. So it was 25 cents per stop for zero emission vehicles and 50 cents per stop for all other vehicles. So essentially every Uber ride was costing an extra 25 to 50 cents per stop. So, sometimes an extra dollar or two
Pick up board drop off. Yeah.
pick up and a drop off, right? You're going to pay at least 50 cents on every stop. Um, yeah, but under this bylaw. And the Uber challenged it because Uber says that it was essentially a bylaw that applied only to people who were providing services regulated and authorized under the province by the Passenger Transportation Board, similar to taxis. And so bylaws can't apply to those vehicles unless they also apply to private vehicles as well, because otherwise the city of Vancouver is effectively legislating in an area of provincial jurisdiction.
Oh, division of powers argument on what you can
Yeah.
tax.
Yeah. So
That went to BC Supreme Court and they were successful on that.
Yeah, so they advanced three arguments to find that the bylaw was ultra vires, the powers of the municipality. Number one, the bylaw regulated transportation vehicles from operating in certain areas of Vancouver at certain times. Number two, it fixed charges for those vehicles. And number three, the fee charged for the permits was effectively a toll that was being applied to Vancouver streets.
Fascinating.
Yeah.
And I'm just curious who the judge is who bought that argument because I don't. Go ahead.
Justice Ormiston, who, of course, from
Yeah.
she was Judge Ormiston, and then when she was Ormiston, the Crown Counsel,
Yes. Okay. Well,
someone we know well.
smart judge. I'm surprised that the court went along with it.
Yeah, well, I mean, if you think about it, like the standard of review is reasonableness. because it's whether or not the city has the decision to enact the bylaw is reasonable. So we're talking about a reasonableness standard of review, and then you have to look at what is actually like within the powers of the statutory creature, the city of Vancouver, to create these rules. And
They have all sorts of power to regulate roads and within the city limits.
yeah,
So you would think that it would just be within their
but that's for all, right? A municipality can establish a speed limit, but that speed limit applies to all vehicles.
Okay. All right. Well, we'll see if this one is appealed, because the city's got deep pockets.
Yeah, well, I don't know.
Generating revenue.
They're about to blow it all on Bitcoin at the big tech conference this week.
Are they?
It's happening right now. There's quite a city scandal going on that you're missing.
Okay, great. Well, I'm glad I'm away for that. City's about to lose a bunch of money.
Now, there's another question that arises in these types of cases, and this is like getting real in the weeds about law. But there's a case called Hour and Hour, where the Supreme Court of Canada applies Vavilov in the context of looking at like subordinate legislation and whether it's within the scope of the powers of the legislator. And the court essentially says that the regulations obviously benefit from a presumption of regularity and reasonableness. So you assume that they're written reasonably. You assume that they're legal to start with. And second, the challenge law and the enabling statute must be interpreted in a broad and purposive way. And third, you don't have to assess the policy merits of the regulations to determine whether they're necessary, wise, or effective in practice. And finally, the last thing that the court considers is whether the subordinate legislation is consistent with the specific provisions of the enabling statute, its overriding purpose or object. And that, I think, is a big issue here, right? Because what's the purpose of the Vancouver City Charter? It's not to regulate the flow of traffic. It's
to generate income.
It's well, yeah, and to allow City Hall to do its doings, but regulating the actions of passenger transportation vehicles is a provincial area that's not allowed in the enabling statute.
Yeah, in most other respects.
Yep. So the court does say that it was theoretically possible for the city to have decided that it could regulate some places where vehicles stop without regulating the number of vehicles operating under a provincial authorization, but they didn't do that. So there was a mechanism. There is a mechanism that they could do it by sort of regulating where the vehicles stop as opposed to regulating the number of vehicles that could stop there. So I think, if the city doesn't appeal, they're just going to rewrite the bylaw.
Yeah, I'm thinking of ways that they can do that right now. I mean, it's an ongoing problem of where they stop right now, because very often Uber drivers stopping in spots where they're blocking the only lane. They're blocking half an intersection. They're causing traffic chaos in lots of places as a result of just the way Uber's app is set up, and the drivers follow the app. The city could certainly regulate the location. They could charge Uber a fee for using those locations, not necessarily car per car. Charge Uber. Go direct to the top.
But there's also actual like statutory provisions in the like transportation legislation that say the city can't regulate in relation to the number of vehicles operating, that this is totally a provincial issue.
That is entirely a provincial issue. That is entirely a provincial issue. Provincial government's legislated in that. The provincial government has been clear in their legislation of that.
Yes.
So yeah, that would be duplication that's not permissible, particularly when you are a subordinate level of government.
Yes.
Yeah, that's consistent. Okay. I'm half sold.
Yeah. I mean, look, there's enough of this judgment that I think is unarguable that I don't foresee an appeal. I think they're going to recraft the legislation. That's what I think they're going to do, because I think that's the easiest way to do it. There are permit fees that they can charge. The court finds, yeah, you can charge a permit fee, but you're not charging it as a permit fee. You're charging it as a rate to the rider. That's the provincial issue. charge it as a permit fee properly, like a flat rate permit fee that every driver must pay per month or something, right? They could do that. And then they also say the city can create tolls. Um, they have the ability necessarily to create tolls. It's reasonable for the city to have decided that its exercise of sorry, they can't they can't create tolls in the way that like access to the street is subject to a toll, but they can create tolls, not in the legal sense of a toll, as a charge for driving along a street, not how the street is used. Does that make sense?
I can see other ways they could do it. They look at congestion pricing for the longest time. They could start charging if your vehicle is, crosses a bridge to downtown more than 4 times in a day, for example.
Yep.
And it's easy to, you could just pick 4 locations or 5 locations where there's either a bridge or a road going into downtown. You cross that 4 times, then you have to pay. That would
Yep.
eliminate most people who are driving for the purpose of getting to and from the place of work or school, and allow for the city to collect from those Uber drivers and taxi drivers and delivery drivers. Anyway, the way to generate revenue, it's there. It's just the way that they did it. Yeah,
And
I can understand.
the benefit is maybe
Interesting.
your Uber rides will get a little bit cheaper, but probably, just probably, Uber's going to just charge a little bit more.
Yeah.
Because no one will know the difference. Because how many people are paying attention to weird administrative law decisions challenging the provincial statutory authority versus the municipality's authority to create bylaws?
Well, not many people other than Uber's lawyers and you.
Yeah, sadly.
I learned about it here on the podcast.
Hey, pay attention to your Uber receipts going forward. Make sure you're not being charged these unconstitutional tolls.
Ridiculous fees, cash grab, city cash grab.
50 cents every trip. Okay.
Adds up.
Speaking of ridiculous, Paul, we have a ridiculous driver of the week. And this one I know you also haven't seen, but I'm going to tell people what you need to do is you need to Google shocking close call with suspected drunk driver caught on dash cam on Highway 3. So this is in
Highway 3, where?
Osoyos.
Oh, okay.
Yep. And what happens, you get the full dash cam view of this. It is a Highway 3, it's actually not Osoyos, it's Bridesville. It's like 8 p.m., so it's like nice and, beautiful dusky light. The vehicle's driving along, and then all of a sudden, this Jetta on its side comes skidding into the path of the vehicle with the dash cam and goes into the ditch, and the dash cam vehicle pulls over. It's really only like a second of excitement, but like it's pretty scary driving. Like there's just complete loss of control on a relatively flat and mostly at that part straight stretch of road. Like not a way in which not a road in which you would think that you would just lose control in that manner.
It's a fairly busy road too.
Yeah. Well, 8 o'clock on a Sunday is not necessarily that busy.
8 p.m. on a Sunday? Yeah.
Yeah. So the vehicle ends up resting on its side. And of course, the police come. And would you believe, Paul, they issued an IRP?
Yep.
Like-
I think every once in a while we should remind people that IRPs were never supposed to be issued to in circumstances of accidents. That was something that the lawyers for the government stood in court and said would never happen, told the court, oh, we're never going to be issuing them in accident cases. And so they didn't design any of their forms to deal with accident cases. They didn't design any of the investigative steps to deal with accident cases. And as a consequence, they almost never have a time of driving that is believable. And the police going through the various steps of conducting that investigation never do it and record it in a way that would suggest that they complied with the charter. And it's a funny thing because, you and I railed against the IRP scheme for years and years and years. And this is one of those things that just is like absolute hypocrisy, drives me crazy.
Well, also on the basis of the driving that's depicted, like you could easily make out a charge of dangerous operation on top of the impaired. Like why not investigate? Like if that's a separate criminal offense, the IRP doesn't cover.
Yeah. I mean, in that case, on the description of the driving there, even if you don't have an impaired driving conviction, even if he ends up with a discharge for dangerous driving, at least is some real meaningful consequences. But the problem is that police officers have taken to investigating these cases as IRPs, and so many of them, as you and I know, don't know how to conduct a criminal investigation any longer. And then you think of those times when they're, general duty police officers out there have to conduct a criminal investigation, like a serious criminal investigation. Somebody's badly hurt, somebody's killed, or not even a driving thing, and they just don't understand how to roll out those charter rights.
Yeah.
And it's the degrading of police officers by this tool that they created.
I think police officers who issue IRPs should aim in their own minds, just, once a month, one IRP a month, go full crim code. Just do it. You can probably pick the person.
If it's an accident, just go crim code.
Or if it's a person who's, really intoxicated. How many IRPs do we read where the person's like falling down drunk, according to the police?
No ASD should be used at all.
No, it's ridiculous. So like, why not pick those? Pick those and go crim code to maintain the skills to keep the recognition of charter rights at the forefront of your mind, and at least then you.
Well, my opposition to that is half the reason for the IRP scheme is because people generally recognize that alcoholism is a disease. Alcohol takes away your ability to make good decisions. So many people have done it. There's but for the grace of God go I, and the courts are, historically before the IRP scheme, not so much now, but used to be very careful in ensuring that the beyond the reasonable doubt standard applied. Feels like it's been sort of lost in translation in the last 10 years, but so I don't want to necessarily see those people end up with criminal convictions.
Well,
In the description you've given me, if that person has no criminal record and a not bad driving record, I would consider a discharge if I was the judge.
Well-
If it was a dangerous driving, because you can get a discharge for dangerous, you can't get it for impaired driving.
Yep. I
You
agree.
agree with it all?
Mostly. Yep.
Well, we agree a lot of the time. Oh, somebody's walking up to the courthouse. I think they've been dropped off. They got a cup of coffee. They're probably wondering why I'm parked here.
Oh, I was gonna say, are you going to become our ridiculous driver of the week? But I guess
I don't think so.
it's past that time anyway. So that's our podcast. If you have a driving law related issue you need to discuss with us, you can find us online at vancouvercriminallaw.com or give us a call at 604-685-8889 and tune in next week for another exciting episode of Driving Law.